Hey, good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Okay, basically it's a quite bright sunny day in South London, so hopefully it will stay. I've got to go to work later today and I'll be working into the evening. So I thought I'd get a quick video in, and I must apologise firstly. This is going to be another list. I have put it out to you if you're sick of lists as yet, but I seem to be getting lots and lots of requests for more lists. So here we have another list. This is one that's taken a while to get around to doing. It was someone asked me to do this quite a while ago. And I think it's quite pertinent because everybody loves a bit of patchouli. So I'm looking at 10 of my fragrances now that have either are all about patchouli or use patchouli to drive the fragrance forward and celebrate patchouli in some kind of way. So we're going to have a look at 10. Again, as usual, it's a whistle-stop tour, so we're not doing an in-depth review of all of them. There are in-depth reviews, I think, on the channel of pretty much every single one of them. So you can go and find them should you wish. Now, I really, as I get older, I find I'm becoming more and more obsessed with patchouli, and it's a note that I really enjoy. And it also impresses me how it can sort of change fragrances and how it's used to different varying effect with different fragrances, and always gives a different sort of a result, shall we say. So it's a great material, and it's been used in perfumery since day one. You know, it's also in essential oils. It's you know, it was associated with hippies for a long time and that kind of thing. But obviously, it's also used to devastating effect when a perfume wants to be sophisticated. I think there's something about patchouli that just gives gravitas to an awful lot of perfumes. So we're going to go through these now. It's not an exhaustive list. These are my favourite at the moment. There are a few that I really want to add to my collection. Parfums Nicolai, Patchouli Intense is one. Jeroboam's Lingo is another one that I really want to add to my list. So this is my list at the moment. It will change, and obviously as it changes over time, we'll come back and update it, and obviously I'll review any new perfumes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll go through the list. There are not really any massive order apart from the number one. Okay, so we'll start with this one, which is a relatively new one to me, and this is Guerlain's Heritage EDP. It's, again, this is not a massively patchouli-based fragrance, but patchouli does play an important role, especially in the dry down. It just gives it some kind of, as I said earlier, gravitas. It's a beautiful fragrance, and I strongly recommend that you sample this. I reviewed it fairly recently. It is quite a new one to me, but it's already made it into the list because I think this is a very cultured, grown-up fragrance. I didn't feature it in my recent Gentleman fragrances, but it could easily have been in that list. It's a glorious, smart, dressed-up fragrance. Very masculine, very beautiful. It's got all sorts. It's a bit peppery to start off with. There's some citrus flying around, and then as it dries down, that sort of woodiness comes into it, and then you have a real sort of note of patchouli that makes a very timely appearance and gives this fragrance some oomph. I really like this. It's long lasting. It's not a beast mode by any means, but it has really good performance, and it stays with you for quite some time, giving off nice little whiffs all of the time. So a good one to look at, especially if you are a dapper chap and are more of a refined gentleman. This would be a very good one for you. Next up, we have one of Natalie Lawson's, probably her best known fragrance, and that is Bentley for Men Intense. Now, I've had this a while, and I have a bit of a strange relationship with Bentley because it was an instant love and then an instant dislike. Then I kind of tolerated it, and then I became a bit sort of with it. This has been touted as a beast mode fragrance, and you read so much about it being a beast, but it's not for me. It really isn't. It has a very loud, boozy, woody, almost leathery-like opening, and then it dries off and becomes very soft on my skin. But it does last for a long time, and again, in the dry down, the patchouli absolutely starts to shine for me. So this is a really good cheapie. I mean, in this list, we're going to have some cheapies, we're going to have some expensive ones, and we're going to have some niche in here as well. There's lots going on here, but I really am picking up on the patchouli in the dry down a lot more now, which is something that I kind of think makes it a lot more interesting for me. I love this sort of soft, I'm wearing it at the moment, and I love this soft patchouli dry down. I wish it was louder, but for the money, it's a really good bargain to get. It's a cheapie, it's a 100ml bottle, a stunning bottle. It is a good quality fragrance, and I think it's one that I prefer in the winter and certainly in the evenings. It's a fun fragrance. It could be used formally, it could be dressed up, and it's certainly good for a social occasion, but it's not a beast. It's certainly not the beast that people tell you it is. Maybe I've got a newer version or something like that. Worth having a look at. I love the smell. questionable performance. As I say, very long lasting, just not as big as I would like it. Okay, next up we have from Molinard, and this is called Vanilla Patchouli, or Vanille Patchouli, and this is a fabulous fragrance. This is beautiful. There is a full review of this, and I love it. This is one that I only really wear in colder weather or in the winter because it's quite a thick, heavy fragrance. The performance is good. It gives a very almost sweet medicinal feel to it. The patchouli and the vanilla just combine beautifully. And it's a good combination. It's not the only fragrance in this list with that sort of combination, but I really, really enjoy this one. For the money that you pay for it, this is a real bargain as well. Beautiful presentation, a very good quality fragrance, one that's quite under the radar. I don't hear much about it, but you know, it's a nice take on vanilla. It's something different. It's not like a Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille or something like that. There's a medicinal sort of fun feel to this one. It's quite sweet, but it's got depth. Very nice fragrance and well worth trying. I think you should probably be sampling this one because that slightly medicinal vibe may not be for everyone, but I really enjoy this one. Okay, next up we have one that I've been talking about a fair bit lately, and that's Moustache, which is obviously known for being a clone of Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Very, very, very similar to Tuxedo, and the patchouli in this really comes into the play in the dry down. Like a lot of them, patchouli seems to add some real depth to a fragrance's dry down, and it's an important material in this one too. It's got a slightly peppery opening, which I quite like. I think Tuxedo, the pepper is dialed up a little bit more, so this to me is a little bit more wearable. But certainly not an outright patchouli fragrance, but certainly one that patchouli plays a decent role in and well worth looking at, especially for the money. This is a super cheapie if you're looking at, you know, comparing it to Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo. This is an awesome fragrance and well worth looking at. Okay, next up we have from Andy Tower, chuniflash. Now, fairly recently reviewed this. This is great fun. This is a sweet, fruity, patchouli-based fragrance. Excellent performance, very long-lasting, very good fun, very sweet, and you know, very fruity as you would expect. Really good performance, great projection, great sillage, very, very long-lasting. Perfect if you want something sweet with a bit of depth for the heat. It's perfect for that. You can wear it all year round. I get a lot of fun out of this, and as you can see, I've smashed through that bottle. So a real good one for you to have a look at. It uses patchouli particularly well. Andy Tower does patchouli fantastically, and this is no exception. It's a real good, fun interpretation of that. Right, moving along. Now we have from Min New York, we have Barrel. Now, you don't necessarily associate Min New York Barrel with patchouli, but patchouli again kicks into the dry down and really makes this quite magnificent. It is a beautiful, beautiful beast. It's an expensive fragrance. I think it retails for about £220 for a 70ml bottle, but you can get this for mega bargains when it comes up. TK Maxx had these for £30 a bottle, and it does appear on eBay quite a lot. Presentation and everything for these is stunning. But you will need to try this one because it's a bit weird, and you know, I love it because of that. You have a massive boozy opening. There's wood in there, there's like peat in there, and surprisingly there's quite a lot of tuberose, which is not something that you would expect to find in a lot of men's fragrances, especially not ones like this that are kind of like big fragrances. The tuberose is brilliant. This is, I think, a niche improvement on Bentley for Men Intense. So they are, if you wear them side by side, they don't smell alike, but they do a kind of a similar thing. But this one just does it a lot better with a lot bigger performance. It's beautiful. The patch comes into the dry down like a lot of the others and gives it a real kind of smoothness, but it's still quite edgy. This fragrance is a wonderful adventure. It changes an awful lot as you wear it. It's certainly not boring, but it's not one that I wear for work because it is ultra boozy, and I think that's not always a good sort of smell to give off when you're in the office or something like that. Perfect fun fragrance, perfect social fragrance. Probably not one for the more intimate things because the first couple of hours this is massive, and then it does calm down and become quite sophisticated. Really good one, very unique and very, very interesting, so highly recommended. Okay, next up from Orto Paresi we have Brutus. I love this fragrance. This is sometimes referred to as green Afghano, and I kind of get a little bit about where they're coming from with Brutus. Brutus is a real celebration of patchouli that Alessandro Gualtieri has made it his own. It's got that DNA that you would expect from a lot of his darker fragrances in this, but there's some green notes and some citruses at the beginning, and then it becomes very much about patchouli. It's a real celebration of patchouli, and it's done beautifully well. Really strong performance. This one chucks out a lot more than you think it does. I wore it recently and my wife was like, blimey, what was that? And I'd oversprayed it because I could smell it, but I didn't realise just how much it was kicking out. So the sillage and the projection from Brutus is very, very high. It's quite long lasting, but it lasts a lot longer than you think it does, because it's one of the ones I think I get a bit nose blind to after a good few hours, but it's still there. So you need to just be careful and moderate your sprays with Brutus, because it's a lot bigger than you think. And look at I love these auto bottles, but look at the cap on this one. This is awesome. A beautiful fragrance, worthy addition to the Auto Paresi collection, and one of Gualtieri's less talked about, but very, very impressive fragrances. I love Brutus, it's a stunner, and I love these bottles so much. They're just beautiful. So that's Auto Paresi Brutus. Next up, we have another one that's quite new to me, and this is Le Couvent de Minime, and this is Nubica. I reviewed it recently, and I've become a bit addicted to it. You can see how much of that I've got through in such a short period of time. This is really, really simple. It's basically vanilla, tonka, and patchouli, and it works beautifully well. It's just such a lovely scent. It's very soft, but very long lasting. It's not a projection beast. It's not got tons of sillage, but it sits above your skin for a very, very long time, and it's a real cheapie to get as well. For the quality of this, I don't think you're going to beat it in this sort of world. Really, really strong fragrance in terms of its beautiful smell. Not a beast mode by any means, but sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you need something a bit closer, a bit more sophisticated. It certainly draws people in, and I can't wait for lockdown to be lifted where I can give this a real good wearing out and about, because I've had it since lockdown, and just again, look, I've got through that much of it without actually being out and socialising or anything. This is just perfect for me. I love wearing it around the house, and I love sort of sitting in front of the TV, just giving my arm a sniff when I'm wearing this. Really, really good. It is quite similar in, I suppose, a little to Dior Homme. So if you're a fan of that line of fragrances, certainly have a look at this. It's probably not as loud as them, but it lasts. It's beautiful, really comforting, really nice smell, very very intriguing. And for such a, I think there's probably some musks in here as well, but for such a simple sort of 3-note listing when you're looking at ingredients, that's a really, really good perfume, and one I thoroughly recommend you have a look at. Okay, and the final two are here. So next one, my second favourite, Incident Diplomatique from Javoy. What a fragrance this is. Absolute banger. Oh, this is amazing. This is well known for being a celebration of vetiver. It has two types of vetiver in there. It has a Haitian vetiver and another type of vetiver. And obviously vetiver and patchouli go together very, very well. But this has an amazing patch at the base, and the marriage between the notes is fabulous. But the performance of this is outstanding. This is an absolute beast. It's a fragrance that is, I'm sure, inspired by kind of 80s powerhouse frags, and it does kind of carry that sort of vibe. Very, very masculine, very, very professional, very, very huge. Honestly, the sillage and the performance from this is remarkable. It's a proper monster, a real beast mode fragrance, but it smells divine. It gets compliments like nothing on earth. One of the strangest backhanded compliments I got was wearing this, and I got this on a bus. A lady said, "Oh, you smell nice. Did you leave any cologne in the bottle this morning?" And I know I mentioned it before, but it always makes me laugh, and it always sticks in my head whenever I see this. So this is fabulous. I'm not sure if you can get these little 50ml bottles from Javoy anymore. So if you're going to get a 100ml bottle, it does make it become quite an expensive fragrance, but it's worth it. You don't need to use a lot. It's just such a beautiful, huge, big hitting fragrance. Absolutely gorgeous, and a real celebration of patchouli. Cannot recommend this highly enough. Okay, so here we are with my #1 patchouli-based fragrance, and we're going to go back to the master of patchouli himself, the wonderfully talented Andy Tower, and we're looking today at Patch Flash. Brilliant! I love this fragrance so much. It's just, it's a stunning frag, and it's boozy, it's woody, it's patchouli. It's like a barrel of whiskey and patchouli that's been mulched together and aged and then poured into these little bottles and sent out for you and me to enjoy. This is an awesome fragrance, and I absolutely adore it. Oh, mate, I could wear this every single day. This is perfect for fun. Maybe not for the office because it is really big and it is very boozy, but I could honestly, I love this so much. I've absolutely hammered this, and the shop that I buy this from has not got any in stock at the moment, so I'm really rationing it out. This is another one that Rich adores as well. I cannot say enough good things about it. There is a full review of this down below. And basically, if you want me to spend 15 minutes banging on about how much I love this, check the review out. This is it is by far the #1 patch frag for me at the moment. Now, as I say, it's a note I like, and I'll be looking to add more patchouli-based fragrances to my collection. And as I do, I will come back to you and talk to you about them. Listen, thank you very much for your time. I hope this has been good for you. I hope you've enjoyed the listing. But certainly, if you take anything away from it, you need this in your life if you like patchouli. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. Cheers. We will see you on the next video, and bye.